All right, welcome to another episode of Future Money, where we talk about the investments of the future
that will make us money.
Please remember that nothing we say here should be taken as personal advice. The conversation is for entertainment purposes only. If you have questions about your financial situation, please talk to a licensed financial advisor.
Today, we're going to
July
talk...
2025.
Yeah. We're going to talk about the big, beautiful bill.
No. We're going to talk about your beard first.
Speaking of big, beautiful bill.
Yeah. Yeah, leaning in your salt and pepper.
Hey, listen, man.
George Clooney look.
When you're in your 40s, you just got to lean into it. I've never had a beard in my entire life. Like, literally, this is the longest I've gone since I started really shaving at like 16.
Looking good. Alex, do you agree?
Alex is a beard.
Yeah, I forgot to. I have a mic now, so I can actually talk to you.
Nice.
I do agree. I love it.
Thanks, Alex. Alex is a beard guy, so he gets me.
I think overall throughout the office, it's a plus.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I was nervous in the beginning.
I was nervous.
It's like, well, a week ago you told me I looked homeless. So it just took a minute to grow in.
You did. Let's get into it.
Let's talk about it. Yeah. So obviously, we had the passing of the bill, the big beautiful bill, one big beautiful bill, whatever it's called these days.
Yeah.
And so
great name.
Yes. Again, if nothing else, you got to hand it to Trump. He is a marketing guy.
Yeah.
And whether it's the big beautiful bill or anything or MAGA or whatever he creates, there's always a catchphrase. And it's one of the reasons he's actually been so successful over his whole career.
Sure. Yeah.
Is he's a marketing genius,
Simple,
frankly.
stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, again, whatever you think about him otherwise, I think it's hard to argue that he doesn't know how to market.
Well, also, I think it's also a troll in many ways. I mean, it's just, for all of us to keep saying the big, beautiful bill.
For sure. It's the big, beautiful bill. And everybody's saying it, even the people who hate it. In fact, the people who hate it the most, I feel like, are saying it the most. As derision, but he's like, great, keep saying it.
Yeah. So what happened? What happened with this bill? I know you've done a lot of work on that.
There's so much stuff in this bill, but I kind of, we as a firm sort of created like a cheat sheet, let's call it, for our clients, and some of the stuff that's like the most important things from this bill. So we could talk about a lot of things. We can, I think
maybe high level. Let's talk about some of the biggest kind of changes that we have.
Yeah. I think that, I think to start off, I think the major thing is obviously the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which is the first Trump bill from 2017.
Yeah.
One of the things we were fearing is that was going to sort of go away and we were going to revert to all these, estate tax exemption was going to go down. A lot of stuff was going to revert, but we have an extension of all those Tax Cuts and Jobs Act stuff.
Right.
With obviously a bunch of stuff on top of it.
Right.
And so
that's been extended forever, right?
Yeah. Again, right. We say forever or until someone re-legislates, until somebody comes in.
To be honest, it's hard to do a bill like this through both houses, and the executive, right?
Yeah, and even this one, I mean, they had a lot of trouble with this one. They were pushing and pushing, and it looked like it might not get done at the end.
It was 50-50 with JD. Yeah, JD making the dividing vote, right?
Yeah, and so for those who don't remember their high school government class, JD Vance, the vice president, is officially the tying vote breaker in the Senate, right? So obviously he's going to vote Republican. So it does matter, The joke is that the vice president is kind of one of the more meaningless jobs in Washington, except. In that vote specifically.
It's very powerful.
Yeah,
but I think the extension is pretty good, right? Because otherwise tax would have gone up on everyone, right? The negative or the criticism of that, the other side is it really hurts the deficit.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
there's going to be pros and cons to all this bill. Like, obviously, America's deficits and growing debt in general. And for those who don't know the difference between the two, the deficit is the annual deficit. The debt is the total amount of debts we have altogether cumulative.
Which stands at about $33 trillion.
$33 trillion, yeah. And,
we pay interest on that. We pay, about $1 trillion a year in interest on that, right?
Yeah.
So,
and it's becoming a hard bill to pay.
Totally, yeah.
Right? So the argument against this entire thing, obviously, is it balloons the deficit.
Correct.
As high as $3 trillion, some might say,
wow,
over the course of the 10 years. The counter argument to that is it's going to spur growth. It's going to spur economic activity.
I heard that before.
Yeah. Listen, for whatever it's worth, deregulation in businesses, like everything you do has a pro and a con. And if you take a left or a right lean, you're going to find something wrong with it regardless.
100%.
But I think what we're going to do here is try to focus on how it benefits people rather than, yes, there's a deficit problem. Yes, there's all that. The bill's in place. Right. So let's move on and let's figure out like how we can all benefit from it.
Yeah.
Right.
So what happens? Yeah. High level.
Yeah. So I think one of the big ones, especially for people in California, New York, those kinds of the blue states, the SALT cap. Yeah. And for those who don't know, SALT, it stands for?
I don't know.
State and local taxes. Hatem does know. He was just letting me have that one. So the state and local tax deduction.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what happened before. I think that's important. Like
before
2017.
Oh yeah. So tell us. Good.
So before 2017, you could deduct all of your state and local taxes.
Yeah.
So from your federal taxes. So in other words, if you lived in a high tax state such as California or New York or Connecticut or one of these states, and you paid a lot of state and local taxes, there was a massive deduction to the federal. And then 2017, and some will argue it was a dig to the blue states, that was removed from the tax code. So basically, they limited that deduction to $10,000.
Right,
and obviously, a lot of blue states were furious about this because if you're a high earner, made $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, paid $50,000 to $100,000 or so in state taxes, that became a really, really huge negative, right?
Yeah.
So we all suffered.
Yeah. And for those, you're basically paying 10% in state taxes pretty quickly in California.
Very easily, yeah.
To a level up to 14% in California. Right. So if you think about 10,000 on somebody who 10%, or it's going to be more, but let's just keep it at 10 on someone who makes 500,000, that's $50,000.
Yep.
You have a home, your property taxes, right? For anybody who lives in Southern California and LA, you know that's $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in state tax. So all that went away as a tax deduction and capped us at 10,000.
Yeah.
So with the new bill, there's an increase, but there's an increase up to 40,000.
Okay, so it went from 10,000
correct
to 40,000.
Up to 40,000.
Yeah, so very helpful.
For sure.
Yeah.
And if you make under 500,000, if you're married filing jointly, if you make under 500,000, you get up to $40,000. Between 500 and 600,000, you get what we call a phase out, where it starts to diminish.
Okay.
And then once you make over 600,000, you're back to that 10,000 cap.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's going to benefit most people that make less than 500.
Correct. Which is most people, the vast majority of people, obviously.
Right.
So, the middle to upper middle class, the lower up middle and upper middle class in California and New York are happy. They got something.
Yeah.
The upper class in those states are unhappy.
Yeah.
But we know most of the people will not feel badly for the people making over 600,000 and not getting that deduction. So that's a big one. And I was just I've been talking to my clients. I'm sure you have also, but I've been doing a lot of trying to plan a lot around our clients who are kind of at that border, telling them how to get more and more deductions on their taxes to keep them possibly under that $500,000 threshold. There's a lot of planning that goes around this now, and our clients don't know this stuff, and we need them to know this.
Yeah, and this is why it's important to kind of dig in, understand what the rules are, and then get ahead of it, right?
Yeah.
Planning ahead of it,
Yeah. So if a client's like, oh, well, should I contribute more to my 401k? And you look at their taxes and you say, well, look, if it's going to keep you under 600, under 500, it's going to make a huge difference, not just on the deduction you're getting for putting money in your 401k, but on the state and local tax deduction. Now it's like a double win.
Yeah. And there is also some, for self-employed people, there is some workarounds too in California and New York. So there is, again, we're not going to get into the details, but I think it is worth having this conversation with your tax people.
This is one of the things we'll talk about in a bit is the small business like S corps and LLCs and things like that to get their deduction. So it's been great for the people making under 500,000 especially.
Yep. What else?
529 plans.
Okay,
which
we love them.
We love 529 plans. I had a 529 plan for my son before he was even born.
Yep. Everyone should have one. This is basically the best. the best plan for saving for college because money. There's nothing really, just like a Roth. Everything goes tax free.
Yeah.
No income restrictions on it.
Yeah, as long as you use it for qualified education, right?
Yeah. And everyone can put money into it, which
Correct.
is the best,
Yeah.
right? Like, so.
Yeah, and I do that too. My parents will give my son a gift. I'm just put it in his 529.
It's not tacky to
no, absolutely. You're like, what? You don't want your kid to go to college? Like, how much do you not like him?
Yeah. Well, no, even friends, right? Like,
for sure. For sure. And we do that for clients, and like we have advisors here who will send out like postcards with contributions to when there's a kid's birthday, like send this out to your friends, you know.
Totally.
Like he doesn't need another, toy, truck, whatever it is.
Exactly. Something you're gonna use for 2 weeks. And
For sure.
they made them better?
So there's some expense. They're even better now. So in 2023, I believe there was an expansion of the idea that if, one of the big sort of challenges with people who are contributing to 529s is, what if I put too much in? What if my kid doesn't go to college? What if my kid... so they made a provision where you can roll some of that money into a Roth IRA.
Yep.
And so this one reiterates that a kid can now, as of today, for example, can roll over $35,000 into their Roth IRA.
Yeah.
Right. And if you think of a kid who's 20 years old and didn't use his 529 money,
that's amazing.
Who's going to hold that into his 60s? That's 40 years of compounding interest.
That's insane.
It's like it might be in the millions at that point, assuming it's invested for growth.
Yep.
Right. So it's a huge win for that.
Yep.
Another thing is you can use basically you can use 529s to pay for student loans now.
Okay.
Which was not a case in the past. Not a thing in the past.
There's no forgiveness of student loans anymore.
Yeah. That's done. That was definitely dead and gone. One of the things that we had before is you can use up to $10,000 in private schooling. From your 529. That has been raised to $20,000 a year now.
That's actually huge for our clients,
for sure,
because we have a ton of clients here who send their kids to private schools.
Yeah.
And for us, the 10,000, I mean, unfortunately in LA, I'm sure in the States,
it's not. I mean, if you think about sending your kid to private school, let's assume your kid went to private school from, K through 12, right? And then college. You're essentially sending your kids to 17 years worth of college. Like that's the expense, right? It's millions of dollars. And you have multiple kids. It's like, it's so much money.
Yeah.
So if you can have an asset that grows tax free as you use it, it's huge. Right, so that's the big one, and then what else do we have here? We have, for the rollover of the Roth we talked about, it's got to be at least 15 years. Then you can't just like put it in and then just roll it over. But the 529s are super beneficial, and again, it's something our clients use a lot of.
Yeah.
And then going back to what you were talking about before, the small business stuff also, right? So there's for people who are self-employed, some kind of workarounds for small businesses.
Yep.
What they call QBI.
Yep.
And that's qualified business income. So that's a deduction. There's basically like a 20% deduction for pass-through entities. A pass-through entity, right, is a S corp, an LLC. Basically means that you are the corporation, essentially.
Yeah, you're the business.
Right? Yep. You're the business. All the business's income flows through to you.
Yeah.
So now you basically have a 20%, but there's a phase out again. Income. I'm not going to try to bore everybody with income limitations.
Again, brings up the conversation you need to have with both your advisor and your tax people.
Yeah,
which is kind of what we're doing, right?
And this is one of the things they created in 2017, which people feared was going to go away, and now they actually expanded a little bit.
Yeah. Undoubtedly, this is pro-business. This is good for helping businesses and give them more incentive to really, be more entrepreneurial. And so
for better or worse, and whatever you think about Trump and the party that's in power right now.
Yeah.
All of this is coming from a place of pro-business.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of how we're getting there, what we're stomping on along the way or whatever the case may be, the general idea is we're trying to promote growth and business in America.
Yep.
You can argue that the tactics are good or not good,
but again, like, show me the money, right?
Exactly.
Where the incentives go, things are going to happen. That's how capitalism works.
Correct.
And I think what the government is trying to do is trying to incentivize pro business policies. And ultimately, I think that could be positive. So
for sure. I mean, even today, Trump is meeting. They're doing an AI. They're doing a thing on AI today, and they're having some new AI regulation rollout.
Yeah, I mean,
deregulation, I should say.
I'm super excited about that.
Yeah,
actually, we can talk about that in a minute too.
Yeah, and so that is something like we said, it's a big one. There's some stuff for Social Security. Basically, some of your Social Security can get excluded from income.
Yeah.
Up to a certain level. So if you're not, again, a wealthy person collecting Social Security, this can definitely help you.
Yep.
One of the negatives in this bill, in my opinion, is obviously a big proponent of EVs as we are as a company and climate change stuff, is they basically torched the incentives for clean energy.
Yeah, and this is why Elon Musk and Daddy Trump have fallen.
Oh yeah, they're the new Kendrick and Drake.
Yeah. Exactly.
They basically torched all the tax credits, right? But without having to get into too much detail of everything, unless you're manufacturing your solar panels in the U.S., basically all the other businesses all the incentives got scaled.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate because these industries are still nascent.
Yeah,
and I think I am pro market in many ways, and I do think that businesses have to survive on their own. But sometimes when you have a new industry that you're trying to incentivize, especially when you're looking at everything that's going on with all the fires and the floods and the heat domes and all the shit that global warming is happening, having EVs, you look at China, 40% of cars in China are EVs, right? Barely 7 or 8% here in the States.
Was it in Norway? You sent me a stat about Norway. Was 90%. It Norway? 90%.
90%.
Like, fuck it. Whoops. Bleep.
Yeah, 90%.
This is now an explicit show, sorry.
But also gas there is like, $7
But that's how it is most of the places in the world, right? Like, and Norway was a place where actually oil was one of their products.
They do. They will have one of the largest reserves in natural gas and oil, and they have one of the largest sovereign wealth funds, but what they've done is they said, hey, listen, we're going to use those resources to help build the future of clean energy and green energy, right?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, the incentives are gone.
Yeah.
Which is basically $7,500 tax credit for new cars and $4,000 for used cars.
And we can talk about that. Like, that's going to hurt Tesla.
Big time.
That's going to hurt all EV production.
The ZEV credit, zero emission credit.
Oh, yeah. That's ZEV,
Yeah. So ZEV credit is basically, it was a California program that kind of been adopted in other states, whereby if you are manufacturing clean energy cars and other polluters can buy these credits to offset some of the carbon stuff. And this is a market that's been alive and well.
It's kind of a BS. It's kind of a BS thing if you think about it.
BS in the sense where you're trying to, buy the ability to pollute.
Like, that's like so ridiculous. You're like, okay, Exxon could pay Tesla to buy their ZEV credits.
You know how much Tesla did in ZEV credits last quarter?
I don't know how much
almost
last quarter.
$2 billion.
But I know they do a lot of. I know for many years the ZEV credits was like their biggest income earner.
100%. So yeah, it's been a market that's really vibrant. Billions of dollars, obviously.
Listen, it's sad. Like, to me, we have an administration, unfortunately, that doesn't believe in climate change. And the word, I hate using the word believe, because belief indicates that there's some doubt of whether something exists or not. You can believe in a deity, you can believe in a story, but you can't believe or not believe like what's actually happening. And there's no doubt that climate change is happening, and this is unfortunately a huge setback
for the clean energy industry, for sure. And also, I think it's a win for the rest of the world in many ways, because I think China is going to double down on clean energy. Europe is going to double down on clean energy. And I get, like, we have to do everything. We have to do nuclear. We have to do clean oil. We have to do everything, but we don't want to just penalize one industry, which in this case is.
I agree. Listen, we know we can't get off oil tomorrow.
Yeah,
right? It is what it is. So but why not still incentivize the industries that are going to be the industries of you? I think it's clear that oil in 20 years is not going to be the industry. It's going to be like coal today. Yeah. The fact that we're still having conversations about coal in 2025 is just nonsensical.
And also in a time where we need more energy, right?
Yeah.
If you think about AI,
I mean, it's just like drinking energy, basically.
Yeah, it's like the biggest constraint.
For sure. And that's, the conversation about nuclear and this, but, burning more fossil fuels to fuel AI is a bad deal.
It's a bad deal for everyone. Yeah.
So that's unfortunately clean energy gets, torched. The estate tax, this is the one that the left really hates. But the estate tax remains very high.
Yeah.
That was supposed to go back down to, I think, $6 million per person.
Yep. So the exemption, you mean?
The exemption, meaning that if somebody passes away, if you're married, you now can pass on more than $30 million without an estate tax bill. I don't know if you remember, there was one year where there was no estate tax. Do you remember that? There was one year where it lapsed. Well, it was, and I know you don't follow baseball, and I didn't either at that time, but I remember very vividly George Steinbrenner, who owned the Yankees at the time, which was the most valuable franchise in baseball,
passed away,
died that year and passed on like $400 million or something without an estate, without even any estate planning. Because we know you can do estate planning stuff to work around some of this stuff. Yeah. Even though it costs money, obviously. But he passed away, and I think it was like $400 million or something. Like it was hundreds of millions of dollars that passed estate tax free.
Yeah, the estate tax is a way really to kind of help avoid these massive estates from passing on.
Yeah, from feudalism, from avoiding like the British French lords of the Middle Ages, essentially.
But also, I think 15 million is a good number. Like if you own the home in California, for the last 40, 50 years, it's worth $2 or $3 million saved. You know what I mean? So it's
and it's gross. It is important to note that it's gross estate. So if I have a $5 million home with a $3 million mortgage, the mortgage doesn't matter. It's the fact that I have a $5 million home.
The value, yes, exactly. Yeah.
But we know that you can do a lot of this stuff, but there's a lot of there's a lot of estate planning that goes around this now. And, we are in LA, you're in Southern California, there is a lot of money here.
By the way, shameless plug, this is what we do, right?
Yeah, for sure.
This is actually the fun part of a lot of the stuff that we do with our clients, is because there is ways to protect, there's ways to manage how funds are passed on to your family. Yeah. If you're charitably inclined, there's ways to do that.
Absolutely.
In a very tax efficient way.
And this is the part that people don't. Yes, there's ways to pass on wealth to people. Yeah, for better or worse, whatever side you believe in. But there are also a lot of charitable ways. And one of the things that bugs me the most is like a celebrity will give away like $1 million to a charity. Yeah. I'm like, they're only doing it for the tax deduction. And you're like, who cares?
Yeah.
So good. Let them get the tax deduction.
I'm so with you, man, because I think most successful people in America actually give back.
Yeah.
And I think we have such a vibrant nonprofit, charitable kind of ecosystem because of these incentives. And a lot of these people feel that, I know a lot of our clients, they feel they're grateful, or they got lucky, or they got in a situation, and they want to really give that back.
For sure.
And there is these tools that's fairly easy to set up where you can actually make an impact, right?
Yeah.
And it saves you on taxes, but that's a nice add-on.
Yeah, it's an incentive. The government created an incentive for people to give funds to organizations that will help people. Like everybody wins in that scenario. You know what I mean? Except the government, I suppose. But
well, no, because our society wins, right? Like there's a lot of this stuff that government can't do, and if smart executives and entrepreneurs can actually do it better, why not? I think it's a much better system than
I agree. Us. No, I agree wholeheartedly. So good on the tax deduction. So with that note, there is actually some changes to charitable giving this year.
Okay.
One of the things that was the case before is that you couldn't, like, if you were just doing a standard deduction. So for those who don't know, right, explain the difference between standard deduction and itemizing deduction.
Standard deduction is you could choose to either have a deduction that the government sets up, right? But if you have more expenses than the standard deduction, then you can actually use itemized deduction, which allows you to hopefully have a higher deduction.
Right.
So depending on where you are and what kind of
it's kind of like if you have a home, if you have, all these other deductions that you take, you will itemize it because it'll give you a larger deduction from your taxes.
Yeah.
It used to be the case that you can only put charitable deductions, reduce it from your taxes if you were itemizing. Right. That's changed now. So now you can actually add some charitable deductions, even if you're taking the standard deduction.
Amazing. Okay.
So basically, you can claim you can put up to $1,000 on your own, $2,000 if you're married, and then there's like as income goes up to 200,000, this kind of starts to phase out again, and then above 200,000, you don't qualify for that deduction. Maybe you're itemizing at that point though, and then so it's the idea that you're still getting credit now for contributing. Like if you make $100,000, but you still want to give $1,000 to Planned Parenthood, to pet adoption, whatever your charitable organization is. Now you at least have an incentive to do that in addition to making it feel good.
Great.
Yeah. So that's great. What it does do is, there is more planning. So in this year, if you're a higher earner this year, it might make more sense to give a bigger gift this year than to give it in the future, because those things kind of like if you're standard deduction, etc.
Were there any changes to the CLATs and CLUTs and all the
Tim's talking about very advanced estate planning. Yeah. So charitable remainder trust or charitable lead annuity trust, which is a CLAT. And this is like the stuff that goes on in the manager's group text. this kind of group messages is tell me, like, let's talk about this. We don't. As far as we know, we don't. No. The messaging chain. Yeah. It's email. These are the things that we talk about, and so far there's no like changes. Like these things are all intact, and it makes again this charitable stuff. I think the big one that our clients do that we all have is the donor advised fund, which is the most important, the easiest way and the best kind of way for most people
to give money,
to give a bigger amount, right? If you're going to give $1,000, you're probably not opening a DAF. But if you're planning on giving $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a year to charity or more, or 50 or 100, like we have clients who have millions. It's basically creating almost like a personal foundation without all the hassle of the foundation.
Controlling basically when the money gets given out.
Correct. So you could put money in. It could be invested. You can decide to give money today, next year, or 20 years from now. But in the end, it's growing, and you can make the investments in there without tax implication, and then you can just give away. So the idea for a lot of people is, I do want to give some today, but I want this money to grow, and I want when I retire, when I die, whatever the case may be, I want to give a huge sum to somebody over that time period.
Yeah.
Well,
the taxes on tip,
that
got a lot of press.
It got a lot of press, and frankly, it's a little convoluted on the taxes on tips, because to start with, a lot of tips aren't reported.
Right? That's right. So already.
So it's like I would say a lot of it is already kind of tax free. Wink, wink.
Everything is digital now, so maybe that's
there's more taxes on that. Yeah. So
is this just a political football? Like just doing it just to help like
I don't know
the 20 million people that work in like the service industry?
I guess, and maybe it's like. I like they spend so much time talking about it, and I hope for the people in the service industry, and I always when I'm out and I always like over tip service people because they live on that, and I know some people are like over tip culture, where you're like, hey, I'm coming to pick up my thing from Home Depot, do you want to give a tip? I know Home Depot doesn't do this, but it's like that kind of, do you want to tip 30%? And you're like, for what? But this is actually really good. So just to kind of give you some of you can deduct up to $25,000 from federal taxes and tips but this is a time frame. So between 25 and 28. 2025 and 2028.
Oh, it phases out.
Yes. As of now, there's no like lifetime to this thing.
Oh, they set it up for the next
I guess
presidential election. Wow.
Yep. Deduction phases out starting at $150,000 and modified adjusted gross income, $300,000 if you're married filing jointly. Okay. If you're making over $150,000 with tips, like you're obviously in a good tipping job.
Sure.
So I think
I fear like lawyers are gonna start taking tips and
I think they thought of that.
Yeah.
So there is basically it says tips must be earned in an occupation that traditionally and customarily received tips on or before December 31st, 2024.
Perfect.
So they're trying to like create the. Yeah. Now you could have a whole bunch of lawyers arguing that oh yeah, we did take this money, but instead of a retainer, we called it a tip instead of a retainer.
Yeah.
So we'll see what that does. But it's a big thing for people who are in the service industry.
Totally. And we want to help that middle class, right? We definitely. I mean, if again, it's going to cost a lot to the government, but frankly, if you think about it, tips should not be taxed.
No, I agree. I agree.
They're just like kind of a thank you for a service that's been received.
Yeah.
And now I get it. Like everyone just has to do it, kind of thing. But ultimately, I think in principle, I agree with it.
I do too. It's service workers work very hard, and they don't make a lot of money for what they do and for the stuff they do.
Totally.
So I'm all for it. Ultimately.
And then the auto loan deductions?
Yeah. So this is another thing. So for business owners, this used to be the case, right? You can deduct either, depending on what your business was, you can deduct stuff for your business. If you used a car for business, etc., you can deduct some of the payments. Now you don't even have to be a business owner. You don't have to. You can basically deduct the interest you pay on a car loan.
That's amazing
for yourself.
Any phase outs on income?
Yes. Everything has an income phase out in this bill, which again they're trying to kind of appease everyone here. Let's see. Deduction is capped at $12,500 over the lifetime of the loan.
Yeah.
Phase out begins at $400,000 AGI for single filers, so it's actually pretty high.
Yeah.
$800,000 for joint filers.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So that's big. But here's the kicker: it only applies to vehicles that are made quote unquote, made in North America. Interesting, they chose North America and not America.
Well, because of NAFTA, right? Mexico.
Yes, but
Canada.
A lot of the push and pull of like Ford and these companies has been the Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Stuff. So, but it does say no, and the rule is 55% of the car has to be assembled in
good for Tesla.
North America.
Definitely
good for Tesla. Possibly good for Ford.
Mm-hmm.
And these companies.
Actually, I think GM took $1 billion write-off.
Charge-off,
on their earnings
from this.
Yeah.
So there's winners and losers in all this stuff.
You think GM would actually benefit? Not really.
Apparently not, because they don't, And again, for whatever it's worth, the theory behind all this is jobs in America.
Yeah.
America first, let's think about us. Whether the outcome is correct or not is a different issue. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt that at the very least he wants America to benefit.
Right.
Right.
So I think what's clear to me is CPAs will be even more busy after this, because I think instead of making it easier, actually it's more complicated.
Correct.
Right. A lot of opportunities to plan.
For sure.
This,
a ton of planning.
So it's good to do that. But ultimately, I think, again, higher deficit, but also more money in the economy. And so hopefully
that's their argument. Their argument is that we're going to outgrow the deficit. Now, that argument hasn't worked since we started deficit spending. Our deficits have, with the exception, I think, of 1 year, we've always ran a deficit in the U.S. since the 70s.
Yeah.
And I remember that year because it was 99 or 2000. It was, I think, Bill Clinton's last. Yeah. And I remember it was the first time I had like a real job. I was in college and I had a real job, and I got a check for like $400 back from the government. They're like, we made a lot of money this year. Here you go. Here's $400.
That's on the back of like 20% growth in the market forever because of the internet boom and stuff. So hopefully AI, I don't know, maybe AI efficiencies are going to be coming from AI along with some pro-business policies. Both of these would help.
That's the hope. That's the hope. And we hope, and in spite of what anyone thinks, we hope it works out. I always say, like, I hope I'm wrong about all of these things. I hope they all work out. I hope they all spur growth. And in the end, people that, the Republicans, Trump, the Democrats, whoever is going to end up doing the right thing, we can say they were right.
Yeah. So let's segue this into, obviously, markets. We're recording on July 23rd today. Markets all-time high. This is earnings kicking in. Google's earnings today. Tesla's earnings today. We have all these tariff issues still going on or negotiations happening. What are you telling clients about, wanting to invest and markets being this high?
The markets are high. I do start with that. I say there's always risks in the market, right? So you have to be aware of those. You have to be prepared. The risks today are right? Like you said, tariffs, market valuations are high, right? The price to earnings ratio is very high compared to the norm. You know, all kinds of geopolitical risks, et cetera, et cetera. But the opportunity, the overlay of all of this, number one is, you know, this tax bill is a big thing, right? And it does help spur growth.
It's less like markets always look for less anxiety, or at least more certainty around what policy is going to be like. This removes one really issue that we had.
And we don't know what the impact will be 10 years from now, but more than likely in the coming year or two, it will be a spur to the economy. So that's one of the things, right? The other thing, second thing is, we'll get to the overarching thing, which I think is where we're going here. But the second thing is, yes, we're still talking about tariffs. But like anything with markets, the market looks at expectations. Right? So when there were no tariffs, the expectation that tariffs were coming, bad, everyone's scared, everyone goes crazy.
Such a good point you're making right now.
Right? And now the tariffs are here. The tariffs are higher than they were before.
Right.
But they're lower than they were. So the expectation of tariffs is lower now. And so people are like, oh, it's fine. It's only 10% instead of 20%. So we're good.
Actually, the average U.S. tariff right now is in the mid-teens. We're talking about $300 billion in revenue for the U.S. government in tariffs, which was basically zero before. And now people are okay with that. Now they're about to see the price hikes. Amazon, I don't know if you saw this in the Wall Street Journal yesterday, but Amazon was like, we're not going to raise prices. We're not going to raise prices. And then they showed a chart of Amazon, Walmart. I think it was Target was the third one. And it's like Walmart actually's prices have gone down. Target was slightly increment, and Amazon kind of stayed fairly stable and then like jumped. Like recently. I mean, listen. Economics 101. Tariffs are a consumer tax. Price on shit is going to go up. It's as simple as that. You know?
The government might be taking in funds on it, but we're paying for it ultimately.
That's exactly it.
Right? But again, the expectation that it's not as bad. The economy seems to continue to be chugging along. And so
it's very resilient. I mean,
we've been saying it for 3 years now. We keep hearing, oh, this is going to cause the market to spin out. This is going to cause the economy to spin out. Job losses, this, that. And for 3 years, every year, the economy has just punched right through that. And now marched back to an all-time high again. So I think the expectation that that this Trump versus Jay Powell thing, maybe we should do like a Tyson versus Jake Paul thing.
I mean, I love to watch Jon Stewart, and man, the clips. I mean, first of all, Trump said that Biden nominated Jay Powell.
That's his guy. It's just Trump's guy. This is a conversation I have with my dad, who's a big Trump guy. And I go, he's like, I don't understand the Fed. I don't understand why they don't lower rates. And I give him reasons. He's like, well, I was like, Jay Powell is Trump's nominee. No, he's not. I'm like, no, he is. He really is. He fit him.
Anyhow, the Fed, Trump wants rates to go down. Right? And frankly, maybe they should go down, maybe not. But the Fed is in a position where they don't want inflation to come back.
Correct.
So
that's more important, especially with tariffs.
If the economy is doing well and tariffs are also going to increase inflation or add inflation. And I think, by the way, Powell and the Fed has landed the plane. We had 3 years without a recession. They've done such a good job managing this. Granted, there's issues with housing. Rates are too high for mortgages. There's a lot of things. And I think people are thinking all rates should go down, so mortgage rates go down, and that's not how it works.
That's not how it works, actually. I had this conversation with a client yesterday.
Maybe let's talk a little bit about that, because I think it's an important point.
So when we talk about rates, there's kind of two things to look at, right? When we talk about the Fed, that's the Fed funds rate. That's what we call the short end of the curve, of the yield curve. That's basically a 90-day treasuries. That kind of stuff.
That's exactly it.
Right? So when the Fed lowers rates, they lower that side. And that's the rates that banks borrow from other banks, from the Federal Reserve, et cetera. Things like...
When banks earn less, they have the incentive to go and lend more. Right? So that's going to stimulate the economy.
Right. Things like credit cards, home equity lines of credit, will go down. Those with direct correlation. Right? But mortgages... are based on the 10 to 30-year bonds.
Correct.
That's what we call the long end of the curve.
Right.
And the long end of the curve is much less effective. It's still correlated somewhat to the Fed funds rate, but it's more correlated to economic outlook.
Correct.
Right?
Expectations
of where we're going to be 10 years from now.
Right.
Etc.
Deficits not good.
Deficits are not good. And there's a lot of forces that we can spend hours talking about all the forces that sort of manipulate how the long end of the curve looks. But on a very base level, it's about the economic outlook for the economy. So there's a couple of scenarios. If the Fed lowers rates, but the economy is booming and the economy gets even better, there's actually a chance that the long end of the curve goes up, meaning that mortgages actually get more expensive and not less. Right? If the Fed lowers into weakness when the economy is weak, then maybe that'll go down.
Yeah.
Or maybe they lower it and then it goes back up. So it's not a direct correlation, and a lot of different. And actually, last year when the Fed lowered rates, everyone thought, "Oh, great, mortgages are going to go down," and mortgages went up.
Yes, it's so true.
And it's something we talked about actually the year before when we had your friend from the agency on.
Yeah, I mean, if your head wants to spin, man, we could talk rates all day long.
Yeah, we would bore the hell out of our viewers.
But I think really harping on Powell is definitely not the right move. And his term is up in 7 months, and the Fed being independent is actually way more important to markets than anybody. And actually, when you saw last week Trump saying that they wants to fire him, markets actually sold off hard.
Yeah.
And I think if that happens, that would be very, very negative, because we need to have a Fed that's super independent from the politics of all the crazy shit that's going on.
Yeah, and it is, again, unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of, I think, overreach from the executive branch on what their powers are. So it wouldn't surprise me for him to try to fire him if he wants. But
he can't fire him. He has to fire him for cause.
Yes, there's we've had a lot of those. He can't do X, Y, or Z, but he's been pushing the boundary very, very hard in every scenario, and going to courts and all this kind of stuff. We're not going to get into the politics, but Trump is not afraid to step over the boundary.
Correct. Yeah.
I was going to say,
even for optics.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. Because that's his base is looking for that. And I was going to say, ask for forgiveness, not permission. And I was going to say, he's not going to ask for permission or forgiveness, frankly.
Yeah. But I would argue that if that happens, markets are not going to take it out.
And for one thing, he does care about markets.
Yeah, that we know.
We know. We saw that in March, April.
Yeah.
He talks tough and then he kind of backs off.
Yeah. So to wrap it all up, what do you tell your clients? Markets being all-time highs, right?
Yeah. So we haven't even gotten to the what we would consider the most important part, right? But the markets are high. These are the risks, but these are the positives. And ultimately, I think if right now, markets are high. It's a good time to dollar cost average. Don't go all in today,
right?
But get into the markets, because in our opinion, the big thing is not the treasury. It's not
the politics, right?
It's not politics. It's not all that. It's AI.
It's the cycle,
right?
Yeah.
It's this complete reconstruction of our economy over the next 5 and 10 years. Whether it was the internet, we've talked about this a million times, but I still think people are discounting what AI is going to be.
Yeah, and it's these things like this only happen every 20, 25 years, right? And we can think about all the negatives, but for right now, there is a huge investment cycle happening towards this new technology is going to improve our lives.
Yeah,
in many ways. And I say this on the record because I know there is a lot of fear around what AI is going to do and so forth, but ultimately, I think the efficiency gains that we're seeing in our business and people's lives are fantastic.
Listen,
and that's the beginning.
Every technology has their moment where everyone fears that they're going to. In the Industrial Revolution, it was the machines building, parts for things. In the agricultural revolution, it was the fact that people weren't going to till the fields anymore. Right. When the computer came,
some disruption is going to happen.
Right. Some disruption is going to happen. It's going to take a cycle. But this is what I said the other day. I go, when the internet was invented, when AOL came out, and we used to sign on to the internet here, nobody thought that in 15 years, being an influencer was going to be a job.
There's 13 million influencers right now.
Right. Or that you would sell products on Amazon.
Yeah.
as a business, as a legit business. There's so many jobs. Uber driving, right? Like the gig economy. Like nobody fathomed that was going to be a thing. Yeah. And so we have no idea where we're going to go. And also, everybody loves to like make this like, oh, AI is going to doom us, like, right? Because we have all these dystopian movies and books that tell us how robots are going to take us over and kill us. And I go, yeah, those are very entertaining because you know what's not an entertaining movie? Somebody gets AI and they do their job more efficiently and then they go home and, have a great time and watch TV.
Or her is awesome.
Imagine if Terminator was just like a friendly dude that you talked to when you went home, right? Like, not the best movie.
By the way, speaking of friendly dudes, there's a lot of people having relationships with AI. So.
That's going to happen for sure. We're going to see that for sure. Yeah. And it's even funny, like, I talk to ChatGPT on my phone. It's a very friendly like woman voice who's talking to me, and like you can understand, like if you talk to it enough, it starts to feel like you're talking to a person.
I mean, there's a lot of people who are lonely, man.
and you know what's funny, like that's a real thing. And actually I think this is a discount for people who, we talk a lot in this country about mental health crises, and I know that I'm not one of the proponents that social media is destroying everyone's lives. There is a lot of people who think that people discount actually the lives that are made better because of social interaction. Sure. And I do think that people are discounting that AI is going to help loneliness and mental health stuff for people who might not have access. And they go, well, people don't go outside anymore and they don't meet friends. Yeah. Some people don't. Some people do. Some people don't have the social skills. Some people have anxiety. Some people have it. And this will actually help them, I think.
Yeah. And honestly, you got to see the numbers. Like, OpenAI is tracking to 1 billion users. It's crazy. Like, doing 20 billion in revenue.
We use it every single day.
Every single day, many times over, right? But also, if you think about the efficiency gains, let's assume I think the world economy is about $100 trillion, right? And if you do a 10% efficiency gain from that,
$10 trillion.
That's just massive numbers. I mean, I can't, and that's why, when you look at all these, the Google investing 80 billion and Facebook investing 80 billion, like all these, like, and NVIDIA's numbers really showing all these investments. It's really because there is a potential of having that much efficiency gains, which means ultimately more wealth for everyone to go around, right?
Yeah, it reminds me of, when Amazon started, it was a bookstore, right? They just sold books online. And then they made this huge investment in infrastructure in their business to create these distribution centers, all this stuff. And everyone goes, what are they doing? They sell books. Like, what are they doing? And obviously that was a huge win. And then they built AWS. Wow. Right? Yeah. Then they built cloud. Cloud wasn't a thing.
To manage their own.
Correct. To manage their stuff. And then they're like, wait.
People use this.
People need this. And cloud was born, right? Today we don't exist without cloud. Nobody stores anything on their hard drive anymore.
Nope.
Right? And they looked forward to see all this.
Yep.
And 10 years later now, let's say, it's been a little more than 10 years for cloud, but let's just use that. It's hundreds of billions of dollars in cloud. And so these companies know that if they do this right today, like any investment, the money comes up first, and then the payoff is later.
That's exactly it.
Right? And that's where we're going to be. So that to me and to us as a firm is the overarching message here. Like, I don't know what's going to happen next month or even a year from now.
But it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And then you look at things like crypto and, deregulation. It's the wealth effect that it creates. I think this is a lot of what gets discounted when we see jobs numbers and we see these, all these like macroeconomic data. The wealth effect that has been created over the last decade in this country is a lot. Your 401k's value, your home's value.
I ran these numbers, right? Like just the technology sector of the S&P is $18.5 trillion. Yeah. It's bigger than any other market cap, any other country's
market cap.
It's nuts, right?
And it makes sense, right?
Because
those companies are bigger than most countries.
Totally, right? Yeah. So I think that's really what we're excited about. Yeah. Obviously, there's a lot of things that we need to be mindful of, and diversification and things like that. International markets, the dollar,
for sure,
like that. People.
We didn't even get into the dollar. Yeah, we're not going to go there.
We're not going to go there.
I just say this one thing. I looked at the dollar because everyone kept asking me about it, and I looked at it for
I'm
10
traveling to Europe next month.
I looked at it. Yeah, it's more expensive than last year, but the same expensive as 10 years ago. Just so you know, the chart is just an up and down chart for 10 years.
Listen, your brokerage account goes up, your dollar goes down.
Yeah. And by the way, another actually thing that people don't think about, right, is the S&P's earnings. If we're looking at markets, the dollar going down is actually helpful to the S&P.
Most of the S&P exports, right?
So it's more than 50% of the money earned by the S&P comes from outside the U.S.
Yeah.
Weaker dollar means that's actually more benefit from that.
That's great.
So that's something that people don't think about with a weak dollar.
Yeah.
If you're traveling to Europe, it's going to be a little more expensive. You should have traveled last year. You did, but whatever, you get it.
Yeah.
But, your brokerage account went up, like you said, so it's a wash.
Yeah, it's a wash. Well, it was an awesome episode once again. Wishing you all an amazing summer. Hopefully everyone is having a good time, enjoying themselves.
Yep.
Love the beard.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, man. I'll see you soon.
We'll see if it makes a reappearance next month.
I think you will.
All right.
All right.
Cheers, guys.